Hello, everyone, and welcome to Loro and Friends Inside the NFL. My name is LoroAntonio. With me today is Ben Kurse. Ben, he is rocking all the Boston Red Sox gear, and I got my Patriots hat on. So we're repping the New England teams. But Ben, how are you doing?
Good, as we said right before air. It's a big one for us tonight. For my team, the Sox. Sox-Yanks, winner-take-all game at Fenway under the lights. So we decided to kind of do the show a little bit earlier so I can kind of get my nerves a little settled after this is done, eat some dinner, and then get ready for game time. But doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. See, you got a new setup here because last time when we did the show, you knocked the bookshelf down.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's just say my dad wanted me to kind of move around. I mean, I'm fine with doing it downstairs again, but I'm going to be safe this time and just do it upstairs. So it's going to be different. This might be a new change of a place I might be doing my ones for. We'll see how it goes.
Where's this room at?
Oh, this is up in my guest room actually. So. Yeah,
it looks like a beautiful guest room there. So folks,
appreciate it.
Let's talk about our recap for the Patriots and Buccaneers. So it was fun to see Tom Brady play against his old team, but in the end, I felt like that the Patriots played well. Mac Jones had a great game, but at the same time, Nick Folk missed that 52-yard field goal, and I questioned Bill Belichick doing this in the rain, and I'm like, you should have gone for it on fourth down.
This was definitely a really good game. A lot of people expected the Patriots to maybe be blown out, of course. Brady coming in. Of course, he's coming off a loss. He's playing pissed off. But I didn't really know what to expect in terms of the weather. Coming into this week, the elements, of course, played a huge factor. And there was a lot of mic'd up stuff after the game was over with Brady and a bunch of his friends from New England, which I thought was really cool. I'll get to a couple of his comments after. But just the game itself, it was a tough one to swallow as a Pats fan. They've had two really close games, actually, kind of three. I mean, the third loss at home, the second loss against the Saints, we didn't really play that well. I mean, we somehow found a way. Our defense found a way to kind of stay within reach, but then we weren't able to close the Saints off. They had a great drive down the field, and that was kind of it. But I think that our defense really needs some work. And I don't know if you saw a report from Field Yates right before I came on here that Jamie Collins looks like he's going to be coming back to the Patriots. They're not sure if it's going to be official yet, but it looks like there's a reunion. Apparently he wants familiarity. So Patriots have been kind of struggling with the run defense, and I love Jamie Collins a lot. I think that Jamie Collins, especially with Dante Hightower kind of struggling a bit, I think if Collins comes back, you kind of bring, between him, Van Noy, Gilmore, hopefully it's, not too little too late with kind of the way the season's kind of going so far. But the defense definitely needs some reinforcements. I think Collins is going to be a great fit if all the reports are true here. And, the Buccaneers, I thought, it was one of those games that I kind of remember from New England that, sometimes Brady just wouldn't have his best game, which I don't think he did by all means. I thought Mac Jones was incredible, and we'll talk about Mac Jones in a little bit. But, Brady had some of these games like he did on Sunday where he, played decent but not great, but he found a way to not turn the ball over. And, turn the ball over, of course, is big in the NFL. If you don't turn the ball over, your chances of winning, of course, are a lot higher. Loro, I actually will disagree with you on that field goal. I really think that, from the chances, if you go for the fourth down, you give Brady a short field, you want to try to take – I know it's a long field goal. I do trust Folk because we kind of saw him kick big kicks in previous games and situations last year. Of course, I'd really even consider him our MVP. So I wasn't really – I understand, your point in terms of in the rain, but, it wasn't like he barely just missed it. He was barely this close in terms of he was basically really this close in terms of making it. And even Brady after the game was saying he thought the kick was really good too. It just was a matter of inches. You saw, that Justin Tucker kick, from far back, it barely hit the upright and went in. This one, it basically hit the post and, went to the side. So the game was a matter of inches, and it kind of, showed that, the Patriots, of course, played hard. That's what I kind of expected them to. It just come up a little bit short in a disappointing fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously now let's also talk about here. So I mean, I thought it was a good game. Let's start with our players of the game here. But before we get to that, we have other news to talk about. Is that 2 offensive linemen for the Patriots, Mike Onwenu and Isaiah Wynn, have been placed on reserve COVID-19 list. They might not get a chance to play on Sunday in Houston. So maybe we'll get to see the return of Trent Brown to kind of help reinforce the right side. And then you might see the combination of Ted Karras on the left side. And then you get Yandy Koschak at left tackle.
Yeah, when I saw that news, of course, the offensive line's been, supposed to come into the season with one of our biggest strengths. And I think that Isaiah Wynn's kind of taken a steps down this year. Oweno, of course, had some moments this past weekend where he was kind of getting benched. I'm a big Oweno fan, but Trent Brown being down, Mason and Andrews really are kind of the only 2 guys as of right now that you can really lean on. I did get a report from Giardi from NFL Network that if Oweno and Wynn are both vaccinated, there is a potential chance they can play on Sunday. But you kind of obviously have to get ready for your backup plan, and there's just not a lot that I really see that is confident on that line right now. Guys are just not, they're not doing their jobs. Mac's going to get killed if, they can't keep him upright. I know even though we had a great game on Sunday, you even saw, the defense from Tampa Bay was able to get to Mac a lot in this game. There was a play, I remember, where a lot of stunt plays that they've really struggled on this year. And there's a play that I forgot the guy's name. It was a rookie, really good rookie from Tampa, and he just absolutely just mauled Mac. I was just hoping that he'd get back up. So I know Houston's not a great team, but you can't take them lightly. As you're seeing right now, the Patriots are 1-3. They're 1-3. Of course, they want to get a win to kind of get themselves back in mojo. The Patriots do too. So, yeah, it's really unfortunate to hear this news, to say the least, for sure, because the offensive line has been a problem, caused early surprise problems so far this year. And of course, 2 of your kind of your main key guys, despite some of them being lacking and struggling. Of course, you never want that. And of course, your insurance guys behind, I just have not a lot of trust in. So we'll see what happens.
All right. So now, going back to the Jamie Collins news. So I really think that he would be a fantastic addition again to the Patriots, because I really think that a reunion with Jamie Collins would make sense, actually, just because you want to strengthen that linebacking core. We want to see more of Kyle Van Noy, more of Dante Hightower, and all that good stuff. But now let's go to our players of the game for the Patriots and Buccaneers. So I have 3 players of the game on offense. So I'm going with Mac Jones, great game on Sunday night, and then catching their first touchdowns as members of the New England Patriots, Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, mine are going to be Jacoby Myers, Mac Jones, and Kendrick Bourne. I think this is back-to-back games where Kendrick Bourne's done a great job. He really took advantage of a guy in Richard Sherman, who, of course, has been a great player over his time in his career. But, of course, the Bucs just signed him because they're so thin on their secondary. And a couple other guys got hurt, too, with Carlton Davis got hurt during the game. Antoine Winfield kind of got hurt at the end of the game, too. So they were just extremely thin. So they had to go out and go find Richard Sherman, who apparently from Bruce Arians been saying that he's been learning. He definitely was slow. He even had a tweet after the game where he was just like, not my best. And but I really like the fact that Bourne's able to get separation. I do like that Henry and Smith got in the end zone. I do still think that they have been struggling a bit. I don't know exactly why that's been the case. Jonnu's only had, highest catching game that he's had is 4. And I think Henry might have had a 5 reception game in the first. I know it's the first couple of weeks, but you do like to kind of see these guys start to kind of turn up a bit. Hopefully the line can kind of keep them upright that way, that Matt can give them a pocket and start to kind of see them, because they're legit really good tight ends. And, the Patriots definitely need all the help they can get offensively. And if you can use more of them in their offense, then it can just change a bunch of stuff. Another guy that I got to give a lot of credit to, and I know people kind of been bashing him, but in this game, I thought Josh McDaniels actually did a pretty good job. He definitely was able to let Mac throw the football. He threw 19 straight completions at one point. So obviously it doesn't take into regard that, The running back crew is very thin. You know, Brandon Bolden, I told my dad this off the year. I love Brandon Bolden. He's my guy. But the fact that he's out there for 50%, if not, of the snaps at running back just scares the hell out of me. Ramondre Stevenson, of course, has been on the bench, and maybe you might give him a chance to go and give him some game reps. Who knows? I know that Bill, of course, benched him because of his fumble against, I believe it was Miami the first week, or it was the Jets. J.J. Taylor, of course, he got a chance to go in. He, of course, had a fumble that Richard Sherman recovered in this game. And then, of course, White's out for the year. So your running back crew and your offensive line, two position groups that I think a lot of people expected to be pretty good in, you're starting to have a little bit of questions with, and that kind of concerns me for the Patriots.
It kind of does too, but I really think that Damian Harris is definitely going to step up too. But now I'll tell you that my defensive player of the game, I'm going to go for a second straight week. I'm going Matt Judon. I mean, he was great last week against the Saints, and he got a big sack for us, and I expect him to continue to get better as time goes on and as the games go on.
Yeah, I think with the best defensive player that we have has been Matt Judon. I knew that with this signing before the year, it was going to be definitely big. He's quick. He's physical. He was able to get a sack on Brady, which was, of course, never want to see Brady get sacked on the other end. But I thought it was kind of funny, the fact that, Judon's had his success in Baltimore against Tom as a Patriot. So it was just kind of cool. Judon did it on our former quarterback, especially when Brady, of course, throws the ball extremely quickly, which he did a lot of the time on Sunday. So, my player of the game probably on defense, I can give it to three guys like offense. I'll go J.C. Jackson. I would give Jalen Mills and probably Judon. J.C. Jackson and Jalen Mills did a great job, I think, on Godwin and Evans. I think the best receiver from the Bucs on Sunday was Antonio Brown. I thought Antonio Brown really Jonathan Jones. I thought Jonathan Jones did his job for the most part, but he did get kind of hurt. He got cramped up, and Brady took that matchup kind of towards the end. If you do remember the play, two plays actually, where Brady threw it deep on the right side, right area of the end zone, and Brown. It was a kind of miscommunication on the deep pass, the first one, and then the second one, Brady threw basically right in the basket. And if Brown, he had the ball with him, he dove for it and caught it, but then he dropped it, of course, in the rain. If he caught that ball, the game would have just been a wrap at that point. With like about 4 minutes left, they would have been up by, I think, a 2-score game at that point. So it looked like Brown really was their player of the game offensively. And I also want to say more about that. And Antonio Brown definitely a lot of respect after the game in terms of the Patriots and stuff, which I definitely give him a lot of props for, to say the least. So, yeah, I mean, it was definitely a game of just there's just a lot of interesting things to say, of course, with the the storylines, going into this game, and but I thought the defense really did a good job. I thought that only given that Bucs high-powered offense, you see all the weapons that they have, and I know the elements, of course, played a huge factor, but you didn't even let Brady throw one touchdown, which I think that was just the craziest part, because all the weapons there, especially even without Gronk, of course, not in the game. Of course, I want to kind of get your thoughts in terms of the feel without Gronk out there, because I know a lot of people are like, well, how do you feel about Brady being there? But Gronkowski, of course, his girlfriend Camille was there, and older brother and all that stuff. But not a lot of people, of course, say Gronk, of course, is a big part to this Patriots team too, and I also want to make sure people remember that as well. So.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, he obviously didn't make the trip though, but I just felt like it was just weird not seeing Rob Gronkowski go on the same field as Brady, where they started their football careers at. But it was a win for the Bucs. The Bucs have the Dolphins next week, so Tom Brady knows the Dolphins pretty well. He has played well against the Dolphins in his career, so we'll have to talk. We kind of talked about that. On Sunday, so I just thought that it was a pretty good. It was just weird not seeing Rob Gronkowski out there. That's for sure. So now to our special teams players of the game. I have to say I'm going to go for a second week in a row, Nick Folk. I mean, he had a good kick this past Sunday, and then missing that long field goal attempt was not on him.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do love Matthew Slater. I think he's one of the best special teams ever to play the game. But he did, of course, have that big penalty that kind of turned things around. So I'm not going to give it to Slater. I'm not going to give it to Gunner because he almost had a key fumble kind of at the beginning of the game. And I still have some worries about him, but really like him still. He had some plays here and there. My guy's going to be Jake Bailey. I thought Jake Bailey had some really good punts. I thought that he might have had his best game so far in the season.
Yes, Jake Bailey had a great punt this past Sunday, that's for sure. But now, folks, let's talk about our breakdown of our divisional standings through week 4. And then also later on, we will be talking about the Patriots taking on the Houston Texans on Sunday. And that's a game that I think the Patriots should just go in there and just blow out. But at the same time, you don't want to take the Houston Texans lightly. I mean, Davis Mills has not played great. But we're going to get more into that shortly. So the Bills are 3-1 right now. The Dolphins are 1-3. The Patriots are 1-3, and the Jets are 1-3. So basically, the Bills right now are the clear favorites to win the AFC East right now.
Yeah, I mean it's still early, but we did project before the year that the Bills would be probably the best team out of the division. Now, besides them, we'll see if the Patriots can kind of get themselves back on track. We'll see if the Dolphins can get themselves back on track. I think the Jets are still going to be, a year or two away. I know that they have a really good up-and-coming quarterback in Zach Wilson. They're going to have their wins here and there, but I still think that they're still going to be a little bit away from kind of the pack, I guess you can say. But, the Patriots, of course, have to take care of business this weekend. I mean, they're playing a really depleted Texans team. This, of course, is going to be a fun build another of reunions. Of course, after this past weekend, you had Danny Mendola, you have Nick Caserio, you have Rex Burkhead, you have Marcus Cannon, you have also Brandon Cooks. So it's just going to be another filled week of reunions. But if you're the Patriots, of course, get to Davis Mills, a younger type of quarterback. Use your defense to your advantage. You could probably win this game just by your defense alone. Just your offense just has to do what they did last week. Just keep on doing your thing offensively, moving the football. But you want to make sure that you score points early and definitely set the tone early. This game definitely could be the Patriots' hands if they set the tone early. But if you give them hope and you let them hang around, there's a potential chance that we can be going to 1-4. But I like not to see that for sure. The Dolphins, I think once Tua comes back, we'll have to kind of see how he is. Who knows if he'll be rusty at all, but Jacoby Brissett, as much as I love him, I don't think he's a future starting quarterback. I just don't. I think he's a decent quarterback. He's a serviceable guy, but you put him for a bunch of games here and there, and I just think that there's a lot of just not trustability for him to be a long-term type of answer there. So you definitely need Tua back. We'll see if Tua will be ready to go because they'll definitely need him offensively.
Tua's actually going to be back for the Jaguars London game.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I did hear about that. So, that being said, that's good, of course, for Dolphins to have their starter back in that one. So, I mean, this division, it's to the first, 4 games. It's 17 games, so you have 13 more weeks left. A lot of things can change between there and now. You got big injuries over the course. You never, of course, want to see injuries, but of course, momentum changes. I think shifts are going to happen. You're going to have your good weeks, your bad weeks, your good stretches, your bad stretches. So even though the Bills are 3-1, and yes, they're going to be a great team. Of course, the 1-3 teams, you can't rule out anything.
I think the Bills will probably be losing Kansas City just because I think that the Chiefs need a win badly. And I mean, Brissett's a good backup, but he's just not a long-term quarterback. He's just he's a good backup for Tua Tagovailoa. So I just can't wait to get Tua back because I really think that when Tua Tagovailoa comes back, I think the Dolphins are going to take off.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know if they'll take off, but I do think that their chances of starting to kind of get themselves back to what they kind of were. I mean, week 1, the Patriots kind of did a good job on Tua. I still think Tua kind of has his flaws for sure. But I think the offense just runs a lot better with Tua than Brissett. So,
Absolutely. Now let's go on to the AFC North. The Bengals, the Ravens, the Browns are 3-1, with the Steelers sitting in last place. But I think it's almost time to kind of give up on Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh yeah, I mean it's the Steelers are kind of in that situation. I mean, I love Cam Newton. I'm not like he's not my favorite quarterback, but I do love him. But he's kind of in the Steelers are kind of in that Cam Newton situation where Big Ben just can't move anymore. He actually, a couple of years ago was able to actually move around a little bit, but he's just stiff back there. Cam was kind of that same way last year. Cam really, he had his moments here and there where he could run the outside, but Big Ben is just stiff out there. Their offense is just a mess, even though they have a lot of good weapons: Claypool, Deontay Johnson, Juju, and other guys. But I mean, they've of course lost to the Bengals. They lost to the Raiders. They lost to. They beat the Bills, of course, which was a good Week 1 game, but now they're 1-3. So, I wouldn't rule out Pittsburgh, of course, because they always just seem to kind of be in that mix by the end of the year. But they don't have any insurance plan behind Big Ben right now, and I think if you're a Steeler fan, you have to be concerned because you got to know that at the end of the time here, Big Ben is cooked. I mean, there's not much that I see left in Big Ben to kind of believe into myself that he has much left in that organization. So, whatever he's trying to do out there, he's trying to just play for, just to hopefully get himself kind of back to where he was. But he's definitely had a struggle. Only 4 touchdowns this season, 4 interceptions. So he's been a 500 type of passer, and QBR rate in terms of his performance has been kind of low so far here. So far, they haven't been kind of clicking, but you never know with Big Ben. Of course, he always seems to be kind of a quarterback that if he clicks, then he'll start to get things going. But right now, it doesn't look pretty there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Dwayne Haskins should start, and if he does, I really think that Dwayne Haskins can win ball games there.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you go to Haskins or Mason Rudolph has had a chance to kind of play a couple of years. Big Ben, of course, whether he's had his injuries here and there, they've kind of had to go to different guys left and right. But Mason Rudolph, of course, has had his chances. Of course, remember the Myles Garrett incident between him and Mason Rudolph. But I would try to ride Big Ben out, but if he kind of continues to go on this kind of curve here where, he's laboring, he's kind of just struggling and going through the motions and not playing the Big Ben that we expect to, wouldn't it be shocker if they kind of bench him for a quarter or two and say, listen, let's see what we have kind of behind him moving forward.
All right. So now, folks, let's talk about the AFC South right now, as the Tennessee Titans, the Houston Texans, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are both sitting at first, second, third, and fourth. But I think the only good team in that division is the Tennessee Titans right now. The Colts, I'll be patient with. And then for the Texans, they're probably going to fall to 1-4. And then the Jaguars, I think the Jaguars are going to go 0-5. But I just think Urban Meyer is the right fit to coach the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, well, Urban Meyer now is in a bad situation. So, regardless if he's coaching or not, the stuff that I heard behind the scenes, I don't know if he'll be able to last the rest of the season after hearing that. But coaching as a coach, I'm fine with. But the stuff behind the scenes, Loro, I have no idea about. So, but besides the fact, I agree with the Titans. They're probably the best team, start to finish health-wise, just talent-wise. But the Colts, of course, if they get their guys healthy, their offensive line, I think, is the best in that division. Their defense is probably the best in that division. But it all comes down to the health of Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz has had his moments where he's been really good, has had his moments where he's been really bad, but he's also had his moments of course, his health. And so if he can stay healthy, he had a really good performance last week against Miami, 2 touchdowns, 200-plus yards. If you kind of give that version of Carson Wentz week by week, the Colts have a chance to get back into this. But we've also seen the bad Carson Wentz here and there. And, he can't turn the ball over. He's had his struggles with that. But I do think that, with a good running game, good offensive line, decent defense, Colts can definitely get themselves back into it. The Texans are just dysfunctional-wise. Of course, without Deshaun there, there's not really a lot of hope. And then Jacksonville. So, really, that's only 2 teams I really have some faith that they can make things happen in that division are the Titans and Colts.
Yes, absolutely. Titans and Colts can really make this division look very good, that's for sure. But now on to the AFC West. It is as tough as nails here. 3-1 and 3-1 and 3-1 for the Chargers, Raiders, and Broncos, and the Chiefs are sitting in last place. But before we talk about that, my thoughts on the Urban Meyer. I saw that video when he was in that Ohio restaurant when that lady was dancing on him. I was like, that's just not good. It's not a good example for the players. And I thought when I saw that, it was a disturbing video.
Yeah, it was definitely, this is not obviously what you want. If you're the Jaguars, Isaiah, I think, had something regarding the players and Urban Meyer kind of having a little feud in the locker room. Now you kind of have this. So Urban Meyer as a coach is good, but of course it seems like his antics, man, are just wild. There's of course some stuff that behind the scenes that just doesn't believe me to know the fact of, will the players buy in? Will he buy in? And I just think that it's a total mess down there, without a doubt. In terms of their record, I feel bad for Lawrence too, because he's trying to learn with the new head coach there too. So, it just doesn't bode well for anybody, no matter what the way you put it. But, they got to find a way to kind of get this thing figured out. And if they do, they have a chance to, see what kind of future that they have. But between DJ Chark going down, one of our top receivers, between them blowing a 14-0 lead where they could have had a double-digit, 3-digit score lead in the first half, and they had a grueling, heartbreaking game in Cincinnati, and then you have all this stuff. The Jaguars, of course, are just going through a horrible path right now.
Yes, the Jaguars are going through a bad time right now, but I have faith that Urban Meyer can turn this around and use his college football experience to turn the Jaguars around.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, it'll just be tough. That's the thing. I just don't know if, in their division, it's definitely something we just don't know about. It's definitely going to be really, really interesting to see what Urban Meyer situation will be like after this kind of weekend. There's probably still going to be a lot of stuff going on, but I definitely am curious to know kind of what's at stake here, and for the Jaguars, that they can kind of get their coach back in situated, everything else back into place. Who knows what will happen?
All right, now on to the AFC West. What's your overall thoughts in that division? Are you still patient on Kansas City in this division? Do you still think that they're the team to beat in that division?
Without a doubt, yeah. I love Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert's an absolute baller, and he's going to get even better and better and better. But I still think that between the coach and Andy Reid, between Patrick Mahomes, they were the second place, runner up to Tampa Bay last year. They were the Super Bowl champs 2 years ago. So, why would I not believe that they can make a run here? They're 2-2. They've had a kind of a rough start. They have a bend or break type defense. But this is a big game on Sunday for them against Buffalo. This is kind of a measuring stick game. We did see what Buffalo remembers last year in the playoffs, where they're a couple, they had a couple plays short in terms of potentially making the Super Bowl. It's definitely going to be a great game. Mahomes against Allen, and without a doubt, I think Kansas City is still the best team, not only in that division but probably in the AFC. I'm not saying no, but talent wise, without a doubt, they're probably the best talented team, the whole AFC, and then in division, the Chiefs are the best team.
Yes, absolutely. And then you talk about the Broncos; they might be pretenders here, and then the Raiders. I think the Raiders are still for real.
Well, I mean, I did see that game last night, and I do think that the Raiders, of course, missed a bunch of opportunities. I thought that Derek Carr was decent. He was okay here and there. He wasn't great. He had that pick at the kind of the end. He kind of was, and I don't know if it was kind of that delay, that happened before the game, but I don't think it was one of his stronger games. He got pressured a lot. I thought the offensive line actually really struggled for the Raiders last night. The Chargers, on the other end, I thought their defensive line played great. I thought Herbert played great. And so, you look at that, and I think the Chargers are for real. I mean, the Chargers are a really good team. They can stay healthy. Good coach too. So, it's hard to kind of tell. Besides the Chiefs, the Broncos, I do think they're pretenders. I just can't trust their coach, Vic Fangio. So you look at that, but I look at the other teams. I look at the quarterbacks. Nothing to take away from Teddy Bridgewater without a doubt. And they have a good defense, but I'd take Herbert, Mahomes, and Carr. It's kind of the top three. And I look at kind of the quarterbacks, the coaching staff. You have Harbaugh. Not Harbaugh. You have Reed. You have Gruden. And then who's the coach for Chargers? Is it Staley?
Brandon Staley.
Yeah. So I kind of just see it that way. Kind of the top three teams.
All right. Now, folks, let's move on to the NFC side. So the Cowboys are 3-1 in the NFC East. That's still a very bad division. I mean, the Washington football team in second place, they got a big win against the Atlanta Falcons, and then the Eagles and Giants sit at 1-3. So I think the Cowboys, to me, I think with Dak Prescott back, he's playing really well right now. The Cowboys should be the clear favorite to win the NFC East.
Yeah, I know. I did see some breaking news here that from Jordan Schultz, I believe was a tweet that
Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, that looks like Jamie Collins is flying to Foxborough tomorrow to meet with Coach Belichick. It seems like their relationship is still pretty strong together, so it looks like not saying it's all fully official, but usually when a guy does that, goes down there, it usually means that he's going to sign, more likely than not. So it looks like the reunion is coming at some point. But to get back onto your thought here, what was your question again in terms of?
Are the Cowboys the clear favorites in the NFC East?
Yeah. The Cowboys are a great team. I'm really surprised about their defense. I thought the Panthers were going to come in and win that game kind of the way that they've been playing, but you kind of saw without McCaffrey, of course, was a huge loss, and Donald threw 2 picks. So, but that Travion Diggs kid, their secondary is legit. I think they're really scary right now. Their defense, of course, is definitely improved for sure, but their offense with Dak there, as long as Dak's healthy, they definitely just ride the wave with him. He's great. Receiving core, they got CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Cedric Wilson has been doing good there too. So, and then you have Blake Jarwin, who's really underrated tight end. He's definitely gotten the end zone quite a bit here lately too. So, their coach McCarthy, I'm not a big fan of, but their team as a whole, they're talented, is probably best at the whole division.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if you look here, So I really think that the Cowboys are going to continue to get better as the season goes on. But now let's go on to the NFC North. You got the Packers, the Bears, the Vikings, and the Lions. I think the NFC North is still a very bad division, but the Packers are going to run away with it. I think the Bears, their quarterback situation is a mess. I'm like, if I were Matt Nagy, just go with Justin Fields moving forward. You should have started in week 1. Don't start Andy Dalton. Nick Foles, I would trust as a backup quarterback.
Yeah, so in this division, the NFC North, I think the Packers have really kind of clicked after kind of that week 1. As I kind of said, after the week 1, everybody's kind of going to go back and say, oh, man, that was just kind of a fluke type of game. And look where we are. Look where we are in week 4. Aaron Rodgers, of course, has been lighting it up. The Packers, of course, have been doing great. Went to a really tough environment against the Niners last week. They won a game winner by Crosby. And then they come back home against the Steelers, and they just do a great job on that Steelers defense and that offense. Randall Cobb, of course, coming up big. 2 touchdowns in that game. Of course, good to see for him. And Rodgers, of course, is there reuniting, after a good couple of years that they had before. But, this is a really good team in Green Bay. They have decent defense, not great, but their offense, of course, is definitely going to keep them in the race for sure. The Vikings, of course, had a tough one against the Browns, only scoring 7 points, but they've had really good quarterback play from Kirk Cousins, I think, for a lot of the season so far. So really have to kind of think highly of their team right now, even though that they're coaching. I don't trust in Zimmer, and their defense kind of struggling. The Bears, you wouldn't believe what had to be said for Matt Nagy, but he did say if things are healthy, that Andy Dalton will be the starter. There's no way, apparently, for Matt Nagy that he thinks that Justin Fields will be the starter. I just think that's absolutely blasphemous. I mean, I don't understand why not ride the young guy, especially the hot hand. Give the Bear fans hope, for the rest of the way. Not that I don't hate Andy Dalton, but he's just not a starter. He's just not a starter at this point in his career. And you're going against good teams in that division and in the NFC that you're not going to be able to compete with Andy Dalton under the helm. You have a better chance with Justin Fields, the young guys, of course. Even though if they don't go far or they don't do much, you kind of have to see what you have in them. And I think that Justin Fields, of course, should be their guy to play now, especially when you look at other teams right now. You look at the past, Mac Jones. You look at the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence. You look at the Jets with with Zach Wilson, and of course with Justin Fields kind of being the backup there. It's going to be tough to see if Dalton stays healthy. And then you look at the other team. You look at the Packers, Vikings, and Bears, and the Lions are just the Lions. They're just rebuilding, and they're not going anywhere.
Absolutely. So now, folks, let's talk about the NFC South. So the Buccaneers and the Panthers are both 3-1. The Saints are 2-2, and the Falcons are 1-3. I think the Buccaneers, the Panthers, and the Saints could be a 3-team race for the NFC South, but I just think Tampa Bay will still run away with it.
Like we said, we never know what will happen. In the division, it looks like Tampa Bay is going to be the best team. As we've seen, they're the defending champs, best offense, best defense, when healthy, and just those other teams just don't really understand. I don't really, trust them kind of taking over their reins, I guess you can say. Sorry about that. Coming down with a little runny nose here, but the Saints. They, of course, have been okay, but they had a heartbreaker against the Giants this past weekend. You look at the other teams in the South. You look at the Cardinals have been 4-0. They're the only 4-0 team now. So credit to them. Credit to Cliff Kingsbury. I don't think a lot of people expected them to be 4-0. Colin Murray's, of course, been great, putting up MVP type numbers, I guess you can say. And going into a really good environment against LA this past weekend was huge and big win for them. And then you look at the Panthers. Panthers, of course, have been doing great. And they had a tough one this past weekend, but I really like their defense for sure. So the Bucs, I'll probably go with one. I probably shouldn't have said Cardinals because they're in the West. I probably should have said, instead of the Bucs, the Saints, the Panthers, the Falcons. I should have meant to say the Falcons in the South. The Falcons, of course, they just have a lot of problems. I know I love Matt Ryan, but just their defense, I just have no trust in. They're a really weak secondary, weak just front, and I have no trust in them. They just lost to Taylor Heineke and Washington, so yeah, I don't mind Taylor Heineke. I think he's been a great story, but yeah, they've just been lacking for a while. Even their win against the Giants, they really had to struggle, and they made the game-winning kick. So they haven't really been able to put teams away. I think they're going to be kind of a team that's been kind of rebuilding. And so, that's kind of the way I see the division from the South.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that the Buccaneers and Panthers and Saints will be the top 3 teams in that division. Now on to the NFC West. I think it's probably going to be 4 teams that will be really good and have over 500 records. The Cardinals are 4-0. The Rams just lost to the Cardinals, and then the Seahawks are 2-2. They just beat the 49ers. So I just think that this division in particular, you could see 4 really good teams with winning records at the end of the season.
Yeah, this is probably the best. And we kind of previewed saying that this would be the best division probably by the end of the season. The Rams are a great team. Stafford and that crew is dangerous. Their defense is dangerous. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals 4-0. The San Francisco 49ers, of course, had a tough one. They've lost back-to-back games now against the Packers, and they had a tough one against the Seahawks. And, of course, the Seahawks went to San Francisco and a big one there. So they're a great team. Seattle and LA are going to be going at it with each other Thursday night, so that's going to be a fun matchup. So it's going to be probably the best teams probably in the division, but not only in the division itself, but in the NFC. They're all really, really talented, really, really good, and we'll see kind of how the rest of the way happens with all of them.
Absolutely. So now, folks, it's now time to talk about the Patriots and Texans game preview. So the Patriots are going to Houston to play the Texans, and you can't take the Texans lightly, but Patriots should find a way to blow out this team.
I'm not sure if it's a blowout, but I do think it's going to be a game where they can be up. They can win by a couple scores. It's like a 27-13 game. I don't think the Texans can score much. Let me see the Texans in terms of their scoring over the course of their season so far. They scored 37 points. Their highest was against Jacksonville, but then they kind of slipped ever since then. They scored 21, 9, and 0. So every single game, week by week, they've been kind of going down and down. So the Texans as a whole, the Patriots have to, of course, play hard. Their defense to come and show up. They've given up 20-plus points in every game. So the Patriots should be able to at least score more than 10 points. They should have no excuse about that. Their defense, you have 20 points to Jacksonville, 30 to Cleveland, 24 to Carolina, and then 40 to Buffalo. So if you're the Patriots, you got to find a way to put points in the end zone. This team doesn't score a whole lot themselves offensively. So if you can do that, you do what you did this past Sunday. You got a chance to win. But, like I said, you let this team hang around, you never know. You just never know in the NFL. And, of course, the Orlando news and the win news, of course, going to be tough. You have to see about their offensive line because, of course, that's a weakness. Then you, of course, have those two guys in the mix. Then you have more of a weakness there. And you got to make sure that Matt can be able to throw the football and kind of do what he's been doing. So, but with all things considered, if you can do all that stuff, you play hard, you do complimentary stuff and not turn the ball over, your chances of winning are good. I got the Patriots 24-13.
I'm going to say the Patriots win 28-14. So I'm going to say here that if you look at it here, let's talk about some reunions that we're going to see on Sunday. So we saw Brady go up against the Patriots. We're going to see Nick Caserio. We're going to see Marcus Cannon, Rex Burkhead, and we are also going to see Brandon Cooks. So former Patriots on the Texans because they are on the Texans is because of Nick Caserio.
Yeah, definitely. It's always good to see former guys, former teammates, there. And I think that it just makes up for a great day. And hopefully that they can kind of, talk after the game with a lot of former coaches, kind of what Brady did. I know it's not going to be a kind of the same homecoming that we saw this past weekend, but guys like Amendola, Cooks, and Caserio, Cornell, they, of course, know a lot of guys on the other side. But when it comes to game time, of course, you got to go out and play hard. Of course, the talking and stuff like that, together, memories can be, talked about after the game's over. But it's all business. And, like what we saw this past Sunday, you play hard like the Pats did. You come up short. But if you do what you did this coming past Sunday, you go hard and play hard, I think they're going to bounce back in a big way and go to 2-3. And hopefully try to go to 3-3 by Dallas, which we'll talk about next week. But that's going to be a very, very tough game.
It is going to be a hard game when the Patriots play the Cowboys, but I kind of want to see Mac Jones kill it against the Cowboys. The Cowboys' defense is much improved, but I just think that the Patriots might even have a hard time against the Cowboys next week.
They will, yeah. The Cowboys are a dangerous team. They're a good team. And the Patriots have struggled, of course, at home. And they're playing at home. I would never say that for a while, that the Patriots be a team to struggle at home. But at least in the first 4 games, 3 of their 4 games have been at home. They've lost all of them. So, we'll have to see if they go to Houston. They get a road win, 2 road wins out of all their season so far. It'd be nice to go and get a win and then go to Dallas and get a win there. And now with all the talk and stuff kind of behind you, now you're kind of back at 500. And, but of course you got to earn it. If you don't earn it in the NFL these days against no matter what team you're facing, you got to earn it. And that's kind of the best way to do it. You execute, you earn it, you play hard, you finish. And they do that. The Patriots have a good chance to kind of get back in the swing of things despite kind of this tough start, I guess you can say, to the season.
Very tough start for the Patriots, that's for sure. But also here's what I want to see for keys to the game for the Patriots. Offensively, continue to execute well. I mean, Mac Jones is on a roll right now. I want to see him continue to throw the football accurately. And for the defense, other than Matthew Judon, to get sacks.
Yeah, I'd love to see Matt Judon for sure. So to definitely get into the swing of things and keep going at it in terms of, this for sure. This defense. I think the defense has definitely improved, but we'll have to see if they can keep it going on Sunday.
They certainly can. So, what is your keys to the game?
My keys to the game: offense, get on the board early. You got the ball early. Offensive line has to improve. They got to find a way to keep Mac upright. They cannot let the edge rushers from other teams where they've struggled with get in front of Mac's face. That happens, and you have forced turnovers. You have forced things that you don't want to happen. But you run the football. You run the football early, but the running game has been that great. So you want to make sure if you want to throw the football, you have to have the guys open. You have to have guys, finish catches, break a big gain here and there. I'd love to see a big game play happen this weekend. Maybe we'll see Nelson Aguilar go over the top, make a big catch for a touchdown here and there. He's been kind of quiet. I know we had that big play, that double pass on Sunday from Jacoby Myers, which was a great play, but I'd love to see him more in the passing game, kind of get himself back in terms of what we kind of saw him in week one. The running game hopefully can get kind of back on track. They didn't really do much against Tampa. So, they can run the ball, they can pass the ball, execute both ways, be dimensional on both sides. Defensively, just stay in your lanes. Do not, guys on the edge bounce off. Do not let the guys bounce off because they've had struggle on the side speed. You got to clog the holes early, and then that'll force the Texans to throw the ball a lot. You stop the running game first. Texans, of course, don't want to force Davis Mills to throw the ball a million times. That's just not in their cup of tea at all. So you make them do that, you're going to win this game. But you've got to be able to be focused, be alert, and just, as they say, do your job. And they really got to really have a big statement game this weekend because they really need to have one.
Yeah, they do. You're absolutely right about that. A big statement game for the Patriots is definitely needed this week. So, also, final thoughts is that I'm looking forward to the Patriots getting a blowout win over the Texans, but it might not happen, but it could happen. But also, Ben, final thoughts to you is that hope that MLB playoffs is here. Maybe my Dodgers and your Red Sox will meet in the World Series, but might not happen.
Oof.
But I do think, however, my Dodgers will beat the Cardinals on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to that game, but I'm a little bit anxious.
Yeah, I wouldn't be as anxious about your team. I think that the Cardinals have been a great story this year, but the Dodgers are just an absolute machine. They, of course, they're an insane team. I'm not, coming into the season, I wasn't a big, in terms of the Red Sox per se, in terms of their chance to make a big run. And I still don't. I still think they have a lot of holes, but their future is extremely bright. A lot of guys doing great this year. And, for all the talk that the Yankee fans had, for all the talk we had, we're obviously now kind of sitting at the same record. And, kind of up and downs. The COVID situation is only kind of fitting for both teams to kind of be something that's kind of similar. The Red Sox are only playing this game at home because they won the season series by a game. They really had the Yankees number kind of early on the season. After the trade deadline, they absolutely owned us. So we'll see. It's going to be a fun one. Like I said before the show started, I'm really anxious. We only have, 2 more hours left before first pitch. So, regardless of what happens, if the Red Sox find a way, play hard, they win the game, they go to Tampa. I don't like my chances against Tampa, but, anything can happen. I think that it's going to be a fun game, and hopefully come out on top. Good luck to the Yankee fans that are joining in. I know it's going to be a good game, and hopefully it's going to be a close game. That's all I ask about. And the intensity, the rivalry, hopefully that we definitely have that October baseball feel, which I think we will. And what a match would kind of start. I mean, obviously taking my bias out of the way, but what a match would kind of start the MLB postseason as it obviously kicks off tonight. Cole Evaldi, and should be looking forward to a great matchup tonight.
Absolutely. So, folks, we'll see you all next Tuesday for Loro and Friends. And Ben, I'll see you on Sunday for the Extra Point.
Definitely so, man. Thanks for having me again. And yeah, we'll talk on Sunday for the Texans game. And yeah, well, of course, hopefully you have a great weekend, great rest of your week, and we'll talk then.